In the leafy suburbs of Chicago, where manicured lawns stretched like green carpets under the shadow of towering oaks, lived Emily Harper. At 38, she was the epitome of the stay-at-home mom. Yoga pants in the morning, PTA meetings in the afternoon, and a minivan that smelled faintly of spilled apple juice. Her husband, Tom, worked long hours as a software engineer downtown, leaving her to manage their cozy two-story home on Elmwood Drive. Their two kids, 8-year-old Lily and 6-year-old Max, were her world, chaotic, loving, and endlessly demanding. Elmwood Drive was one of those neighborhoods where everyone knew everyone else's business, or at least pretended to. Block parties in summer, holiday lights competitions in winter, and a community Facebook group that buzzed with everything from lost pets to passive-aggressive complaints about unkempt hedges. It was idyllic, or so it seemed, until you scratched the surface. That surface was guarded fiercely by Victoria Langford, the undisputed queen of Elmwood. Victoria, or Vicky as she insisted on being called, though no one dared shorten it without her permission, lived 3 doors down in a sprawling McMansion that dwarfed the Harpers' modest home. At 42, she was a former real estate agent turned lifestyle influencer with perfectly highlighted blonde hair, Botox smooth skin, and a wardrobe straight out of a high-end catalog. Her husband, Richard, was a hedge fund manager who commuted to the Loop in a sleek Tesla, and their teenage twins, Blake and Brooke, attended the elite private school downtown. Victoria ruled the neighborhood with an iron fist wrapped in a velvet glove. She chaired the HOA, organized every event, and decided who was in and who was out. Her smiles were sharp, her compliments backhanded, and her rumors spread like wildfire. Emily had felt the sting early on. It started innocently enough. When the Harpers moved in 5 years ago, Victoria had welcomed them with a basket of artisanal muffins and a tour of the essential neighborhood spots. But soon the digs began. "Oh, Emily, you're so brave for not working outside the home. I could never give up my career like that." Or at a block party, "Your garden is so quaint. Have you thought about hiring a professional landscaper? I know a guy, Richard's golf buddy." Emily brushed it off at first. She was busy with the kids, volunteering at school, and trying to keep up with Tom's erratic schedule. But Victoria's barbs escalated. She started excluding Emily from group chats, whispering about how the Harpers' house lowered property values because their Christmas lights weren't coordinated. Then came the rumors. Emily was letting herself go, Tom was working too much because of marital issues, and worst of all, that Lily's ADHD diagnosis was just an excuse for poor parenting. The breaking point came one crisp autumn afternoon. Emily was at the park with the kids when Victoria sauntered over, her designer dog, a fluffy Pomeranian named Duchess, tucked under her arm. "Emily, darling, I heard about Max's little incident at school. Biting another child? That's so primal. Maybe you should consider therapy for him, or for you." Emily's face burned. Max had been teased by Blake Langford, Victoria's son, who called him a baby for still needing a comfort toy. In frustration, Max had nipped at Blake's arm, not hard, but enough to draw attention. The school had handled it, but Victoria twisted it into a scandal. "I appreciate your concern, Victoria," she said through gritted teeth, "but it's under control." Victoria's laugh was like tinkling glass. "Oh, sweetie, if you say so. Just don't let it reflect on the neighborhood. We have standards here." That night, as Emily tucked the kids into bed, Tom listened sympathetically but shrugged. "She's just insecure, Em. Ignore her." But ignoring Victoria was impossible. She was everywhere, hosting brunches, leading yoga classes at the community center, even influencing the PTA votes. Emily felt isolated, her confidence eroding. Friends she'd made drifted away, not wanting to cross the queen bee. One evening, scrolling through the neighborhood Facebook group, Emily saw a post from Victoria, a photo of her pristine backyard captioned, "Grateful for our little slice of paradise. #blessed, #Elmwood Elite." Comments poured in, likes from everyone except Emily. Then a private message popped up from an anonymous account. "Watch out for Vicky. She's not as perfect as she seems." Emily stared at the screen. Who was this? She replied, "What do you mean?" No response, but the seed was planted. Emily couldn't shake the message. Over the next few weeks, she observed Victoria more closely. At the Halloween block party, Victoria paraded in a custom Wonder Woman costume, her kids as many superheroes. Emily, in a homemade witch outfit, felt frumpy by comparison. But she noticed something odd. Richard wasn't there. Rumors whispered he was traveling for work again. Digging deeper, Emily started with small talk. At the grocery store, she chatted with Mrs. Patel from across the street. "Victoria's house is stunning. How do they afford all those renovations?" Mrs. Patel glanced around. "Oh, Richard's doing well, I suppose, but I've heard— well, never mind." "Tell me," Emily pressed gently. Mrs. Patel sighed. "There was talk last year about some financial troubles. They almost lost the house, but then suddenly, poof, new pool, new cars. Miracles happen, right?" Emily's curiosity piqued. She wasn't a detective, but motherhood had honed her research skills, finding the best deals on kids' shoes, troubleshooting tantrums online. That night, after the kids were asleep, she fired up her laptop. First, public records. Cook County's property assessor site showed the Langfords' home valued at $1.2 million, with recent additions like a home theater and outdoor kitchen. Tax assessments were public too. Emily cross-referenced with Zillow estimates. Something didn't add up. Their property taxes seemed unusually low for the upgrades. She delved into social media. Victoria's Instagram was a curated dream: vacations in Aspen, designer bags, charity galas. But scrolling back years, Emily found inconsistencies. Posts from 3 years ago showed a humbler life, older cars, no exotic trips. Then, a sudden shift after Richard's big promotion. Emily remembered the anonymous message. She created a burner account and posted in a local Reddit forum. "Anyone know about financial advisors in Elmwood? Looking for tips on investments." Responses trickled in, mostly generic, but one stood out: "Stay away from Langford types, shady deals." Her heart raced. She messaged the user privately. "What do you mean by shady?" The reply: "Offshore accounts, under-the-table stuff. I used to work for a firm that handled similar. Check public filings if you're curious." Public filings? Emily Googled SEC filings hedge funds, Chicago. Richard's firm, Apex Capital, popped up. Their annual reports were dense, but she spotted discrepancies in reported assets versus public boasts. This was getting complicated. Emily needed help. She confided in her old college friend Sarah, a CPA in the city. Over coffee at a downtown cafe, she laid it out. Sarah raised an eyebrow. "That sounds like possible tax evasion. Upgrades without income spikes could be undeclared income or fraudulent deductions." "How would I prove it?" Emily asked. "You wouldn't, not legally, but if you suspect fraud, you can tip off the IRS anonymously. They have a whistleblower program." Emily hesitated. Was she really considering this? Victoria was mean, but ruining her life? Back home, the bullying intensified. At a PTA meeting, Victoria proposed cutting funding for special needs programs right after glancing at Emily. "We need to prioritize the majority," she said sweetly. Lily, who benefited from those programs, came home in tears that week after Brooke Langford mocked her in class. She said, "I'm stupid because I need extra help." That sealed it. Emily was done being the victim. Emily became a sleuth in sweatpants. Mornings were for kids. Breakfast, school drop-off. Afternoons, while Max napped, she dove into research. She started with LinkedIn. Richard's profile boasted managing $500 million in assets, but Apex Capital's website listed only $200 million. Mismatch. Next, social media deep dive. Using tools like Pipple and Spokio, she pulled public records. The Langfords had multiple LLCs registered: Vicky's consulting business, Richard's side ventures. One LLC, Langford Holdings, owned a vacation property in Florida, bought 2 years ago for $800K. Property taxes there? Emily checked Florida's records. Paid in full, but the income to support it? Richard's salary, per Glassdoor estimates for his role, was around $250K. Victoria's influencer gig? From her posts, sponsorships might add $50K. With twins in private school, $40K each, mortgage, cars, numbers didn't add up. Emily found a goldmine, Victoria's old blog from her real estate days. Buried in archives, posts about creative financing and tax strategies for high net worth individuals. One entry hinted at offshore trusts. Smart investors know how to shelter assets legally. Legally? Emily muttered. She researched IRS rules on offshore accounts. Failure to report could mean big penalties. Then, a breakthrough. Scrolling Twitter, now X, she found threads from finance whistleblowers. One linked to a database of leaked Panama Papers-style documents. Searching Langford, Chicago, nothing direct, but a similar firm was flagged for evasion. Emily needed more. She joined online forums for hedge fund insiders, posing as a curious spouse. "My hubby works in finance. Any tips on tax optimization?" Responses varied, but one user DM'd, "If he's like the Apex guys, ask about Cayman Islands setups." Caymans? Emily Googled Apex Capital Cayman. A subsidiary popped up in corporate registries. Public info. Now to connect dots. Using free tools like Open Corporates, she mapped the Langford's entities. Langford Holdings funneled money to the Cayman entity, then back as loans to avoid taxes. Evidence mounted. Screenshots of discrepancies, PDF downloads of filings. Emily compiled a dossier on her computer, password protected. But Victoria struck again. At the winter holiday party, she cornered Emily. "I hear you're snooping around online. Careful, dear. People might think you're obsessed." Emily's blood ran cold. How did she know? The anonymous message? Maybe Victoria had spies. "I don't know what you mean," Emily replied coolly. Victoria smirked. "Just a friendly warning. We take care of our own here." That night, Emily's resolve hardened. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. This was about justice. Word count so far, 2,184. Chapter 4. Allies and Twists. Emily needed allies. She reached out to the anonymous messenger again. "I need proof. Help?" This time, a reply. "Meet me at the coffee shop on Main, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Wear red." Nervous, Emily went. At a corner table sat a woman in her 50s, graying hair, sharp eyes. Karen Ellis, a former neighbor who'd moved away after clashing with Victoria. "You're the one," Emily said. Karen nodded. "Victoria drove me out, spread lies about my business, but I know things." Over lattes, Karen spilled. She'd worked as a bookkeeper for a firm that audited Apex. Richard's cooking the books, inflating expenses, hiding income in shells. Victoria's in on it. Her influencer income is laundered through fake sponsorships. Proof? Karen slid a USB drive. Copies of emails, ledgers. I kept them as insurance. Emily's hands trembled. This was dynamite. "Why give it to me?" she asked. Karen smiled bitterly. "Revenge. She ruined my life. Now ruin hers." Back home, Emily pored over the files. Emails from Richard to offshore lawyers discussing asset protection. Victoria's name on documents as co-signer. But a twist. One email referenced a side hustle. Victoria selling unregistered securities to neighbors, promising high returns. Ponzi vibes. Emily verified with Sarah, the CPA. This is fraud. IRS would love it. Emily prepared her tip. The IRS Form 211 for whistleblowers allowed anonymity, with potential rewards if recoveries exceeded $200,000. She anonymized everything, used a VPN, burner email, attached redacted files, detailed the scheme. Before submitting, doubt crept in. Was this too far? Victoria was a bully, but a criminal? Then Lily came home with a black eye. "Brooke pushed me. She said her mom said we're trash." Emily's fury ignited. She hit send. Months passed. Winter melted into spring. Emily waited, watching Victoria's life from afar. At first, nothing changed. Victoria hosted Easter egg hunts, posted about her blessed life. But cracks appeared. Richard looked stressed, snapping at the kids. Victoria's smiles seemed forced. Then, the audit notice. Emily heard through the grapevine. Mrs. Patel whispered at pickup. IRS agents at the Langfords. Something big. Victoria tried to spin it. In the Facebook group, just routine stuff, folks, nothing to worry about. #adulting. But the neighborhood buzzed. Rumors flew. Back taxes, penalties. Emily played innocent, offering sympathy. Hope everything's okay, Victoria. Victoria's eyes narrowed. It's fine. Some jealous person probably tipped them off. Emily smiled sweetly. Karma, maybe? As investigations deepened, more emerged. The SEC got involved, unregistered securities. Neighbors who'd invested with Victoria came forward, angry about losses. Blake and Brooke were pulled from private school, tuition unpaid. The Tesla was repossessed. Victoria's influencer empire crumbled. Sponsors dropped her amid scandal. Her Instagram went dark. The climax came at the summer block party. Victoria showed up, makeup caked, dress ill-fitting, weight gain from stress. She confronted Emily publicly. It was you, wasn't it? You ruined us. Gasps from the crowd. Emily stayed calm. I don't know what you mean, but bullies always fall. Victoria lunged, but neighbors held her back. Richard arrived, pale. Vicky, stop. It's over. The Langfords sold the house at a loss, moved to a condo in the city. Richard faced charges. Victoria, probation for accessory. Emily? She became PTA president. Her garden won awards, and the neighborhood thawed. Friends returned, apologies in tow. One day, a letter arrived. IRS reward $50K. Emily donated half to special needs programs, used the rest for a family vacation. As she watched her kids play free from shadows, Emily whispered, standards indeed. Word count so far, 3640. Epilogue, New Beginnings. In the aftermath, Elmwood Drive transformed. Without Victoria's iron rule, it became a true community. Potlucks without judgment, help without strings. Emily started a blog, Suburban Survival, sharing stories of empowerment. It went viral, turning her into the influencer Victoria pretended to be. Tom, inspired, cut back hours for family time. Lily thrived. Max's confidence soared. Years later, Emily ran into Victoria at a mall, haggard, working retail. No words exchanged, just a nod. Revenge wasn't sweet, it was satisfying. Emily learned bullies thrive in silence. Speak up, dig deep, and the facade crumbles. And in suburban Chicago, under those oaks, peace reigned.